Welcome everyone to the YouHearBigGirls anime discussion. Today we're going to discuss episode 2, Midnight Train. There was a lot of good stuff in this episode. We got Pie Pedal Peak, Porco, lots of Reiner, and even more head pets. So I decided to invite the best guests I could think of for this episode. First off, we have Alina James, a wonderful artist who you can find on Twitter and Tumblr, and is also a very big Reiner and Porco fan. Welcome, Alina.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. And it was a very sweet introduction. Thank you.
And second is Twitter extraordinaire drunkhelos, who we will refer to as Porco from now on, who has some very hot takes on Twitter, which you will either love or absolutely disagree with. But I love them. So welcome, Porco.
Hello, thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope people like them, but I've seen mixed reviews so far. We're here to talk about them, so yeah.
Well, you kind of bait people sometimes as well. You're like,
I mean, I don't really have like mild takes. Mine are usually on the extreme part, but it's more fun this way. Yeah, we got plenty of those, I guess, already.
okay. Hey, first off, I want to ask you about your overall impressions concerning the second episode. Alina, I know that you love this episode, but please tell me how much.
Yeah, so I really liked the episode in general. I thought the directing was fantastic, especially during Reiner's flashback moment in Harbor. Animation was just phenomenal. I'm a big fan of rotoscoping. I know not all people really enjoyed that, but I personally thought that was really well done. And you can tell how much work went into the animation, really, because the camera movement is there. It's really, really well put together. I'm very sad about the pacing, which is way too fast, since I'm a huge fan of Marlin cast and Marlin art in general. And I really wish we could spend more time with them and more episodes, but it's just something that I have to come to terms with.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that one. Like the 20 minutes felt like 5 minutes to me. It was done before I knew it was over. What about you, Paco? What were your feelings on this episode?
Well, I certainly enjoyed it. My expectations might be a bit higher, considering I really am passionate about this part of the manga. I like the atmosphere a lot. I think, in the manga, you really don't get to always. I mean, it's up to you to imagine like the weather and like the atmosphere of the city. A lot of the parts are like just white in the background. I think details really do wonders here, and it's just beautiful. And that being said, I had my few issues, which I don't mind that much. Like, I think the episode captured the essence, but it could have been better with some details. But again, I enjoyed it, and yeah, animation was good. Character designs I liked a lot, especially Porco, my boy. And overall, I think it was a decent episode. I actually prefer him in the anime than in the manga, at least in that part. Like in the manga,
Oh,
yeah, his hair is better here, I think.
okay. Didn't expect that. For me, I I did enjoy the episode. I especially love the, like you said, the scenery or the background in Fort Slava. I think the sun setting looked really nice when Reiner was talking to the kids. I also enjoyed the added scenes, like the short scene where the guy jumps off the roof, the soldier, to commit suicide. It was also, short but impactful. But yeah, the pacing for me as well, it's going by too fast. I wish there were more episodes to just let it breathe a little bit more. I felt cramming this all into one episode felt like it was a little bit rushed. I wanted more. I wanted more details on the small things. I felt like Reiner was easier to connect with in the manga than in the anime because it just kind of all flashes by a bit too quickly.
Yeah, that's true for sure. Like pacing is a whole new issue. Like it's gonna be a separate topic later, I feel.
Oh yeah, definitely. But still, yeah, overall I loved it and I loved hearing Peak and Porco. I think their voice actors are also very well chosen. So overall, great episode.
I fully agree with you that there's just no room to breathe because the pacing is so quick. Scenes just fly by so fast. And sometimes when characters talk, they just need some room to pause and like think about what's going on in the moment because sometimes it just really felt like they had just no room to think about anything. And I felt that logically it didn't make much sense for them to be so quickly talking to each other, just firing answers. For example, when Reiner just wakes up from the dream and they instantly start talking, it really felt anticlimactic, maybe. But I really thought that both this scene in the harbor was really well done cinematically. That the harbor scene with the ship casting a shadow on the kids and Reiner going into this mind state where he sees his friends instead of Gabi's group. And the scene at the dinner table at the house I thought was really outstanding, even though, again, I fully agree with you that it's much harder to understand Reiner's intentions here in the anime version compared to manga, because, again, of how quick it is. And now, if I may speak about animation, so I thought it was really well done, really complex, constant movement of characters and the camera. Did you notice how coats are animated, how well animated they are? There's a moment when Magath shows up from below the sheets. His coat hangs low as he bends down, and you can see inside of it. You can see his shirt. It's so realistic. I thought it was really beautiful. The only thing I did not enjoy Titans that are done in 3D, but that's more about the previous episode because we didn't really see any Titans in this one since all the scenes from manga chapters 93 and 94 with Titans were cut. And I thought maybe that was actually done for the best because they didn't have to adapt any 3D bits into this. So I think that worked. And fighting scenes in the first episodes were just fantastic. Also, here I want to mention that even though I really, really enjoyed it visually, there were a couple of little mistakes in the episode. For example, when Reiner wakes up, you can see the curtain next to his bed floating. It's blown by the wind from the open window. And directing-wise, it's such a cinematic moment because the curtain covers Porco first, and you can't see him, but then he starts speaking, and the camera rotates around Reiner, and that's how we get introduced to Porco for the first time. I thought it was a really powerful moment. But on the very next frame, the curtain is already done in. It's attached by the eyelet.
How she notices this is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's going to watch the episode again and taking notes while they hear Alina discuss it in detail.
All according to Keikaku. I really don't think you can notice it unless you watch it like 50 times over like I do. But and even though it's an inconsistency, I think it's really worth for the effect. And in the same scene, there's another mistake. When Pick comes in, she leaves the door open. And when Reiner says he's going to go see the kids, you can hear the door close behind him. But in the next frame, again, the door is open. Which,
Wow.
by the way, I thought it was a nice touch that they did left it open. I'm not sure if it was a deliberate choice or just a mistake that they made, but still, it's something that I noticed. So yes, everyone, have fun rewatching.
I wonder what other animation errors we will be able to catch now. Everyone's gonna really pay attention to the next couple of episodes.
Good. They should.
Well, Poco, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, there isn't much left to add. I didn't mind, like, from the previous episode, like, if we already started talking about that, I didn't mind CGI that much, apart from Beast Titan. And, like, in this episode, I had no complaints. I'm really curious how Titans look later on. We did have some news that 2D Titans are gonna reappear from the leakers on Twitter and whatnot in the next episode, so who knows? But yeah, apart from that, like that one Udo scene where it seems a bit choppy, like his neck is just snapping left and right a bit too much. I don't think I had any visual issues. But then again, I'm not a person who really cares that much about the animation. I'm more nitpicky when it comes to details in the plot.
Wouldn't that be fun if they made Colossal Titan drawn in the next episode instead of making him 3D? Because so now all the Titans are 3D, but Colossal Titan is hand drawn.
Reverse Wit Studio.
Yeah. That would be really funny, but I think that would defeat the purpose a little.
Yeah.
I particularly enjoyed the rotating camera as well. It's something we haven't seen before in the series, so it brings a new dimension to it. I will say though, there's some scenes where I think the anime isn't as fluid. When we're at the harbor of Fort Slava and we see Udo walk, it looks a bit static. I don't know if you agree, but it's like he's not moving very fluidly. It's like, I don't know, like a little bit robot-like. And aside from that, I think I really love the animation of the faces. This episode, last episode, I wasn't as convinced, but I loved Colt in the train, being drunk. I love them coming home. I love Reiner's, he got a lot of close-ups this episode, so I think they really did a good job on that.
Yeah, faces are quite decent. Actually, like character design, I was always curious how are they gonna translate it, and I think they've done a phenomenal job. Like
Mm.
Zeke always feels a bit jarring to me, but like I don't know, he's just. I think it's his character design is like that. I think Mappa did as good a job as they can with Zeke, for example. But like to me, like he just always his beard just seems super weird.
True.
He has
I
that
don't know.
creepy uncle vibe to him that just makes him look like that, I guess.
Though, like it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade from which studio? Like I feel he looked like a hippie there. Perhaps gave me that John Lennon vibe.
Yes.
And over here, he looks like a math teacher or like a professor or something.
There were some really, really nice scenes with Dick in this episode where he smokes a cigarette and his hair is blowing in the wind.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
that was a nice transition.
As you were mentioning the animation of Udo earlier, I wanted to say that there were two bits here in this episode, one with Udo walking to Gabi and Falco, and then there was a moment where Gabi talks at the table. And the animation there, it was different because it was way too, I don't even know how to describe it. They were moving too much, I guess. And normally people, when they talk, they don't move as much unless they are, very, very emotional, which I guess they were in the moment, both of them. But still, I can see why a lot of people had problems with those moments. I didn't feel that they were badly animated. I thought, in fact, the opposite, that they maybe worked too much on this because they just went and animated and more frames. And so that's why we have so much movement there. But I can definitely see why some people would, disagree with that, and why some people didn't like these two scenes.
But like I feel they put some effort. They tried something different, and I'm always gonna applaud that. Even though like I wasn't the biggest fan, I think I'm curious to see what they do with that. If they are gonna repeat that in the next episodes.
I mean, I think I noticed that in the previous episode as well that when one person is talking, like the background characters are moving a lot. And some people like it because it doesn't feel as static, but for other people it's too distracting. Like there's too much going on that you're trying to focus on, but it's not really all that important.
Well, that's why you have to rewatch the episode a few times. I mean, I say that not even as a joke because I really feel that the episode is so packed with so much details. You really have to rewatch it at least twice because you just miss a lot of stuff if you don't do that.
Yeah, I feel it definitely has rewatch value for sure. But yeah, for me in the first episode, I thought it was a bit distracting at times. In this episode, I was okay with it. But yeah, maybe because there's not a big like war scene and things blowing up in the background as well. Maybe it was a bit easier to handle. Oh, actually, I have one more question for Alina before we go to voice acting. How was the sandwich animated? Was it well done or was it done poorly?
I thought the sandwich was perfectly fine. It was also funny to see how Porco was talking to Reiner, eating sandwich, and writing at the same time.
Multitasking king right there. I think it had lettuce in the manga and it didn't have in the anime. So like they aren't feeding my boy properly. Shame on you, Mappa.
I saw tweets before the episode aired like there better be lettuce in that sandwich, otherwise I'm boycotting.
I think lettuce was there. It was a good looking sandwich.
I thought it looked thicker in the manga compared to the anime.
I mean, are we really going to nitpick on that? I don't think that's...
Yes. It was such an iconic moment for me when we first saw it. So
They did add a little moment there with him smiling though, which wasn't in the manga, and I thought that was really cute.
okay, so overall, how do you enjoy Porco's voice acting?
Porco alone, I like it. I think it's fitting. I always imagined it to be like a bit nasal, like for some reason. I don't know. I think they perhaps changed the way he talked in that scene with Reiner. I always felt like it was a bit more passive aggressive in the manga, and I just got a different vibe here. Though it's not necessarily for like because of the voice acting. I enjoy it. Like I think it's good. Not gonna complain about his voice actor at all.
What about Peak?
I think Peak has two different moods for me, like two different vibes. One is, this cute, wholesome, lazy Peak, which we all like to meme about. And like the other is this serious one. And I think this voice is perfect for the first one. And I'm just not sure how well it can do the second one, like more serious scenes where she's angry and something like that, maybe. Like I'm not gonna get into spoilers or anything, but like if her mood changes, I'm curious how this, cute voice is gonna transition there. But I trust her VA and I think they have a lot of range, so I think it can be done.
So, as for me, Porco's voice actor is my absolute favorite because he fully matches the voice I always imagined for him. And I think the actor did a fantastic job with his voice because normally he as an actor sounds much higher when he talks. And I thought the emotions in his voice really brought the character to life in this episode. And as you guys probably know already, Porco's voiced by Toshiki Masuda, and I really don't think there's a better person that they could have picked for Porco because Masuda had a band together with Hosoya, who is Reiner's voice actor. It was a pop duet band called Max Boys. And funny enough, I actually was familiar with their music before I became a fan of SNK, which says a lot because I followed SNK since like 2013. So it's been a really long while. I had the happiest panic attack of my life when I found out that it was Masuda who was going to voice Porco, because I really just couldn't believe it. Naldia, my friend, messaged me about it, and I was just sitting in front of my computer going like, no way, no, no, you're lying, this can't be. And I had to go and check the website again, and I had to check his Twitter to make sure it was true, because I still can't frankly believe it. This feels like I'm dreaming it all up, really. And I just knew since the voice actor was announced that all the moments between Porco and Reiner would just be so well done, because I think it's just so much easier for the voice actors to work together when they know each other and have a good relationship. So as for Peak, we've known her voice actors for a few years now because she voiced for Titan form as well. Even though as a Titan form, it's of course edited, but still we knew who the voice actress was. And I like how tired she sounded this episode. So I think the actress is doing a good job. But I'm not the biggest fan of her voice range. I would go for something deeper for Peak because it is kind of too cutesy, I think, and even maybe childish a little in the way she sounds. Because if you don't look at the character and just listen to her voice, it really gives you, I feel, a different vibe from who Peak is, because she's so smart. She's older than the rest of the group. And I mean, the rest of the group, like she's older than Reiner's group because she's in the middle between Zeke's group. So Zeke is like the first generation of warriors. Peak is from the second group. Then there's Reiner's group. Then there's Colt. And then there's Gabi's group. I'm surprised that so many people liked her voice, but it's good for them. I'm sure I'll get more used to it. And like Porco said, I'm very curious to find out how she sounds in different situations, when she is more serious, when she's fighting. So we'll have to see about that.
Off topic, but just a question. How would you feel if instead of Peak opening the door, just a guy walked in, like the original Peak design, and he was like, Porco, don't bully Reiner, mate.
I would feel fantastic. That would have been a nice gag to use if they did. If they had a special section on Blu-ray discs with bad cuts.
Like a gag reel.
Oliver Peak was his name originally.
So for the anime onlys who are listening, yeah, Oliver Peak was supposed to be like this middle-aged man, which was originally Peak's design before Isayama decided to change it to the cute, sweet Peak we know now.
Yes, I love it.
I actually really liked her voice. I thought it suited her well, although I can understand your concerns for how she will sound in later seasons, later episodes when, the situation changes a bit. I think she can pull it off, but we'll have to wait and see. And I didn't know that about Porco. I did see you be excited, like, about his voice actor, but I didn't know why. But so he was in a band with Reiner's voice actor. This is like the perfect season for you. Everything is coming together perfectly.
All according to Keikaku, like I said.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
And it's not just a band, it was like a duo between the two of them. And they had a radio show together for a few years. They toured. It's great.
Oh my God. I feel like, the universe is aligning. The stars are aligning.
We'll talk about that later. I have yet another essay prepared on the subject.
Yeah, I figured. I also have some questions. How did you guys feel about the scenes they included with Porco? Because I feel like he comes off a much sweeter, much nicer in the anime compared to the manga. Because, he's giving out head pats to Gabi and Falco, and he just overall seems not as, I don't know, snarky.
You have no idea how much I screamed when I saw that. Even though I warned my family members about me watching the show and being very emotional about it, they had to come running to my room because I was just screaming when I saw those two little additions with the headpads to Gabi and Falco.
I feel like these scenes are really precious. It makes warriors look like this one big family, and these kids and like the grown-up warriors, they're like mentors, and students. They have this really unique relationship that you don't really get to see in like other stories. Like these guys are gonna die for you, and you're gonna have to eat them, for God's sake. So just having that bond between them, any sort of filler which adds up on that is a welcome one for me. And yeah, Porco is a bit softer this episode. I think, I don't know, maybe they're trying to make him more likable on purpose, because from what I remember in the manga, people have a really wrong picture about him, like the kind of person he is. They take the bullying Reiner part way too seriously. And you have two biggest Porco stands ever at your podcast right now, Porco Defense Squad. I think these scenes, like, a big part of his character for me is him caring about his comrades, and I think this is a really nice way to show it.
Yeah, it was perfect. I really, again, I just cannot believe it. We're getting this because it's everything that I've ever wanted, pretty much. Again, I will definitely elaborate on that later because I have some thoughts about it.
Yeah, I know that in the manga readers didn't really care for him. I think it was Reiko who did the character polls. And I think Porco was pretty much always at the bottom every poll.
Which just proves you that this fandom deserves no rights and horrible taste in general. Horrible.
Well, I felt that the anime results were better from what I've seen on various platforms discussing this episode from anime onlys and just people in general. Reactions to him definitely were more positive. So
yeah, I think so.
Seeing it in color and with the voice acting, and again, considering how fast paced it is, it's really helping people to get a different picture, which is great. I welcome it.
I wish there was a question on the anime only poll about how much they like Porco.
Well, maybe you can include that one for, well, not just for Porco, but for Peak as well.
They did have one for Peak.
Okay. Well, duh, of course. Well, Peak is definitely much more likable to general audience. And I mean, I love her too. It's I don't think it's possible not to love her. She's great, but she has this charm that people fall for very easily. So she's definitely more popular. I saw a rating from Anime News Network, I think, for this episode, and Reiner had over 1,000 points. I guess it was conducted by the searching on the website or something like that in regards to this episode. And Peak was on the second place. And then they had like Gabi, Falco, I think some other characters. Porco was in the middle somewhere. And I think Udo and Zofia were towards the end. But Peak is definitely very popular.
Oh yeah, everyone in the anime only is just like, yeah, best girl, cutie, waifu.
I wonder if they are gonna catch up on the "that's exactly right" meme that Zeke does thingy.
I
Like,
don't think it was as obvious in the anime, honestly.
yeah, it's a shame. It's such a great moment in the manga. I really wonder how they would have reacted to the scene they cut with her crawling. I think that would have been just so nice for them to see.
Yeah, so there was in the manga, there was a scene where she's crawling on the floor and like Porco walks up the stairs and he sees her and he's like startled because he didn't expect her to be crawling on the floor and it's so funny. But they cut it and I don't think we'll be getting it later on.
Well, I feel that it's such an iconic scene that it's a really big shame that they did cut it. There are some moments a little later where they can possibly put it. So I'm not losing all my hope yet because it is a really great scene. It really is. And it's a shame, really, that we didn't get to see it. So I'm just going to stay hopeful for now.
I think a lot of issues I had personally with this episode when it comes to deleted scenes can be fixed later on. Like they missed the opportunity on some, like that train is already gone on some, but there's quite a few they can fix and they can add stuff, which is great. Though reconsidering the pacing, that seems not so likely, but still.
It really, really does suck that we have to cut away the moments due to pacing. But I don't think any of those scenes that are fundamental for the story are going to be touched, So I'm not really worried about that. And those things that they did cut, even if we are not seeing them in the future episodes, I feel that they were, even though it's sad for me that they did cut it because I love those characters and I would love to see all of those interactions and each and every single one of those lines that we are missing. But I don't think that they fundamentally change anything here. So I'm not crazy negative about it. I'm just going to enjoy the good stuff we have.
I'm gonna try to be positive as well. You did see me rant on Twitter a bit about this. A bit.
A
Is
bit,
another
a bit.
But again, I was really trying to point out that I'm not trying to be negative. I really do enjoy the episode. I'm hyped as a little kid when it's Sunday, and I have to get to watch a new episode. So, but they do have an issue with how they portrayed Reiner in this episode. I think if they cut few of his moments, that would have been fine, but they kind of cut all of his facial expressions, almost all, which doesn't change whole much, but the point of this arc to me always feels like it's to relate to Reiner, to see his point of view better. Like him and Falco are the main players, and then maybe like Gabi in this arc, if you ask me, and like especially Reiner. This should feel like a slice of life thing with Reiner, having him talk to his cousin or have dinner and everything, which is great. But over here, he just comes off as a bit straight line, like pretty monotone. Like he's always up in his head thinking. Like even the scene with Porco in the manga, for example, he doesn't. Porco is a bit more like passive aggressive. He pokes Reiner. He's like, "So what? You were getting saved all the time, right?" And Reiner smiles when he remembers for a second all these memories of how he used to behave. And then he gets pretty calm at the moment and he answers, "That's exactly right, Galliard." And Porco is like, he's stunned for a second. He's like, "What?" Reiner's answers leave people very confused sometimes, even with his family during the dinner scene.
Right.
His family was like also really confused. It feels like these people don't understand Reiner. It feels like Reiner is just somebody who's seen so much. He's so above everyone else around him that like others just can't understand him, and you just feel bad for Reiner. even during the dinner scene, which was one of my favorite scenes in the entire manga, like I think the dialogue there is perfect. When Gabi is talking about her view of Eldians and like devils and whatnot, and like how Reiner must have had a horrible life there, Reiner smiles. He can't contain his emotion. Like he almost bursts out laughing at one point, and then he covers it with his mouth, and people think he had like something triggered him or something. Like his family is like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you fine?" And when his hand is moved, we actually see a smirk. He was actually laughing. So it just shows us that Reiner actually like thinks everything is so absurd. That whole situation, it just feels so, weird to him. And he's seen way too much to ever be able to think as everyone else around him. And you feel for the guy, which in the anime is not as clear. I think it's still clear enough, but perhaps not as clear. And I'd appreciate these small moments with him just smiling here and there to see that he's like functioning like a normal person and has like deep emotion.
I agree about that. And there is also a moment when they walk with Gabi in 95, I think, and before the meeting. And first of all, they initially go through a market there and people address them. Uh, they say something like, "Hello, our little warrior," to Gabi, and "Hello, vice chief," to Reiner. And they talk with those people and they're smiling. And then when they have a conversation with Gabi, she says a lot of really important lines about Titan inheritance, which I hope they will include later on, because if those are completely gone, then that's bad news for me personally. Those lines were really important, just plot-wise in general. And when they talk about Karina, Reiner says that, well, Gabi says that she's worried, that Karina is definitely worried about Reiner, and Reiner says that, of course, she would be worried because her son went away as a 12-year-old boy and he returned as a middle-aged man. And he also smiles there. In the anime, I think he said this line, but there was no emotional reaction at all.
Yeah, in the anime, that whole scene is a straight line.
It's like a matter of fact thing, kind of.
Yeah. So it completely changed the tone of that. So I definitely agree that I feel that Reiner becomes more like this, how they're showing him now later in the story. But during these moments, he still had some positivity there still. So they decided to cut that all away.
Yeah, he reminds me of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
No.
In the anime, he's like, "Oh well,
That's
In the manga, he's like, smiling and all that, like smirking. I don't know. He just feels more relatable. He feels
Yeah.
like he's living an everyday life. He isn't as affected by war and like the current situation as much as anime paints it. Like I think his troubles definitely, start this episode when he's told that he needs to go to the island. But before that, I think he was actually trying to live a normal, balanced life and enjoy what he can. And yeah, I think these things are important because we don't relate to characters only through like, oh, they suffer, so like I feel bad for them. I think seeing them function in a everyday society is really important for us to like feel like they are humans, especially for like villain characters who we've perceived as villains before, like Reiner, for example.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that I miss the smiles, like the hidden smiles when he reminisces about Paradis and thinking of his comrades of the 104th. But I also miss like pauses when he's thinking and trying to not let anyone see how he thinks about the Paradisians. He's definitely playing a role. Like he's not telling them his true feelings because he can't. And in the manga, he looks really tired of everything. And in the anime, he's just determined in a way. Like his experiences definitely have shaped him, but I don't feel they're wearing him down as much as they did in the manga. And I think that was one of my favorite parts in the manga. So I'm kind of sad that it's not weighing as heavy on him.
Many may say it's nitpicking, but really, I don't feel like it is. I feel like when I read those moments, they stuck with me.
Yeah, I know. I think what made people really understand and fall in love with Reiner, and I don't think you get the same from the anime episodes. You don't really get this insight into his character as much, which I think is a pity.
It is.
Actually, I watched a lot of YouTube reactions, and people seem to be really sympathizing with Reiner. I would say maybe more so than they did when they were reading manga. Or, well, not they, but when manga readers were reading those chapters. And I'm talking, of course, about people who are not Warrior or Reiner fans in particular, but just general SNK readers or viewers in this case. And a lot of people seem to be sympathizing with him. A lot of people seem to recognize that he's now a main character, at least for this arc. I've noticed people say that a lot, and I was actually surprised by it because it's just the second episode, and he wasn't in the focus as much in the first one. So I was really pleasantly surprised with that.
Yeah, I think the next couple of episodes it will dive deeper into, his state of mind. And we might see him act more similar to how he did in the manga.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm also very curious how people react to him, because I feel like Attack on Titan breaks all these shonen tropes, left and right. Especially starting from now, like from Marley arc, it starts breaking them everywhere, and with Reiner in a way. I think they still have this perception of him as this, oh well, he's gonna join the good guys, he's gonna do that, whatever, like how you typically feel when you see a previous villain as someone who get his perspective.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I'm really not gonna get into spoilers, but I'm just curious how they react.
Will he have his Prince Zuko moment where he gets to choose whether to join the good guys or stay with the bad guys?
Bad warriors of Marley.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the little flash of the guy jumping off the rooftop?
Well, I thought it was good for them to be showing all these horrors of war. It's a very short moment, so I didn't think it mattered much for the pacing, so it didn't take away much time. So I thought that was an interesting addition.
Mm.
I'm gonna double down and say that the point of the scene was more than just showing the horrors of war. There is just something about the way it was framed that I think it has some more significance than, showing PTSD and everything. If it is just that, like, good. But yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna have some meaning, that they're gonna change a few things around, especially because they focused on it later on, after Gabi and Reiner were talking. But I just have no idea what they're gonna do with it. I still like it. Like, it's a neat addition that they're trying to change stuff around a bit.
Yeah, I think it works well. And I like that the scenes that they add are like pretty short. Like I said in the last podcast, they don't feel like filler. They really add something to the story. And about scenes that were like shortened or left out, it would be nice to get them at a later stage, but I am kind of okay if we don't. I'll say. To the story that's being told, I don't think they're that important.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff can be, maneuvered around and changed. It's not gonna change the essence. It's more about, I feel like, in this arc in particular, important for the characters to be fleshed out as much as possible, because, like, it's the other side, and it's the enemies, and the more you fall for the enemies, the better, right? The more conflict it creates down the line.
True. So this episode was based on chapter 93 and the first halves of chapter 94 and 95. Did you enjoy that restructuring, and is there anything else you wish they added from the manga or maybe had left out or changed in any way?
Well, like I already said, I think the restructuring is fine. We'll have to see more about that in the future episodes, because so far it's really hard to judge if it was a good decision or not, because we'll have to see those second parts of those chapters that they combine here. So I am not against it. I think it can definitely work for the story better to have it like this. Because again, with the manga, the pacing of the chapters, the way they come out, I mean, it's very different because we get one chapter per month. And the anime airs an episode per week, and the way the readers consume the material and the way the anime watchers consume the episodes, it's very different. So the anticipation, the theory building and everything like that really works in a different way, I think, between manga and anime. So some things that had to be added to manga to keep the readers going. For example, those little flashbacks to Parody Islands that were cut, at least visually. So they were mentioned in this episode during this dining scene, but in the manga, for those who are anime onlys and only watch the episodes, so those scenes were illustrated by flashbacks in manga. In the anime, they did not add those, and I feel that they had to be in the manga because, again, readers were getting very sad about not seeing those characters of the older cast for a while, and they had to be there. But in the anime, since the pacing is in general much quicker, they felt the liberty to just not show those and not waste any time on them, I guess, because the time is already so short. So in general, I am definitely positive about restructuring, and we'll just have to see more of it to judge it.
How about you, Porco?
I've seen a lot of people complain about us not seeing 104 and everything on parody while Reiner was talking. And I do understand why they perhaps didn't want to do it. Perhaps they didn't want to create the scenes in their own style because they would be too different from what Wit did. And then just putting Wit's scenes there would maybe create this gap because the art styles are different, basically. So yeah, I think it's a studio thing.
Yeah, they would have to create all the character designs for those older faces, and older, younger faces, younger faces of characters. So that definitely adds up. I think the same way why they cut Titans here. So not to use the 3D, and because in manga there were again some quick panels to showcase some stuff here and there, but in the anime they really had to cut on that for the visuals. I think not to waste energy on that.
Them removing that does cheapen the scene a bit, but I think it's nothing significant. And regarding the pacing and structuring or restructuring, I'd say so far so good, but I'm a bit anxious when it comes to the rest. I think if they cover most of it, minus some cute scenes like that one with Porco and Peak, sure, you can maneuver around those. But if you manage to fit everything, bravo, good job. I'm just anxious that they might not be able to do it, but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Well, apart from the things that I've already said, I am at least happy with the adaptation so far, and I don't think any scenes were really missing or should have been changed to fit with the story better. I just miss a little bit more of Reiner's characterization, but I'm expecting we'll get that in the next couple of episodes. So far, I'm pretty content with Mappa's adaptation.
Yeah, people are gonna be mad if you don't mention Bert being cut, I feel like. Because in his dream and the Ackerman thing, it plays a bit different in the manga as well. Both Ackerman scenes are from Reiner's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit weird that they decided to show Levi, and Zeke, and then Mikasa and Reiner.
I feel a little different about that because I felt that actually what was a really nice
Transition. Okay, yeah.
transition,
Sure.
yeah. Because Zeke starts remembering Levi, and then Reiner starts remembering Mikasa, and that's how it connects there.
Because Levi was the one who kind of slaughtered Zeke, and Mikasa blew Reiner's brains out, so that makes sense to me.
Because actually,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I mean-
in manga, all those three scenes that so Reiner was having dreams about, there was Levi attacking him, Mikasa attacking him, and Colossal Titan falling down, which was presumably from Reiner's perspective there, even though technically he shouldn't have seen that since he was at a different point of the city at that moment, and with a blindfold over his eyes. So I don't think he should have seen that, but anyway, that was seen. And here they changed Levi's scene to Zeke's, so they made a nice transition with it. in the manga, the whole description about the Ackermans was done a little differently. It was much longer, and the transition there was also different. So Zeke was talking about Ackermans in general. They both were shown, and then they showed those two flashbacks with Reiner and Colossal Titan falling down, and then he wakes up. And here in the anime, they just connected the beats with Zeke's and Levi's scene and Reiner and Mikasa's. So I thought it worked. Again, I think Colossal Titan was cut mostly due to 3D reasons because they would have to do the model for him, and that's where it had to be, done like that.
Yeah,
Also, I always
makes
felt that
sense.
this whole scene of Reiner waking up and his weight, because he does say wait when they attack him with thunder spears in Shiganshina. So I thought always that his dream was more about his, trauma during these battles. So I think that message, translates well. It's always sad that we get scenes cut. It's sad to see any of the scenes cut. So I would have loved to see Colossal Titan in this style that Mappa is using, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and one more thing I remember, I found particularly funny when Zeke talks about the Ackermans. He ends it on, and to be frank, I never want to meet them again, which
True.
was
Yeah.
just so cute. And then it got to everything. So yeah, like Zeke's trauma is so funny to me. So funny how Levi just destroyed him.
I will say one of my favorite changes is how much Gabi is blushing compared to the manga.
Oh yeah, the moment when he's like Reiner and she hugs him. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
She's so cute.
Well, she's really well drawn.
Yeah. I think she's taken all the blushy moments from Falco because I don't think I've seen him blush once.
No, he did blush during the first episode.
Oh, you did?
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
In
when
advance.
she takes off her,
Oh, right, yes. The nosebleed moment.
he did blush there. And in the manga, in those chapters, I don't think he blushed. I mean, in 93 and 94. So
I think they did in 94 when Gabi, when they get off the train in Liberio.
yes, they did cut that completely. So he's not blushing because this whole scene is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was again sad that they cut it, but it doesn't change anything fundamentally. So
And last episode, I complained about Magath's demeanor, like that he was so mean compared to the manga. But this episode, he felt like the Magath that I know and love. Like when he came up to them and kind of made fun of Zeke and Cold and their Eldian asses, but in the meantime was also kind of shooting the breeze with them.
Magath is just so great.
Yeah.
Best character, truly. My favorite.
Oh, he's your favorite now, Alina.
Of course, he always is. Like I am, everyone thinks that I am a Reiner stan or Porco stan, but actually, first and foremost, I am a Magath stan.
Mm.
I'm just looking at the chapter right now in the manga. The scene where he's watching all the kids, like he's walking with them up until the gates, and they all meet their families. In the manga, it's not really that well shown, I guess. But in the anime, you actually see him watching them, then slowly walking away. It has this like sad tone.
So overall, I think we had some small gripes with the episode, but we liked it.
I loved it.
We did.
A lot. Okay.
Yeah.
If we look at the anime only watchers, I think the majority also loved it. 55% gave it a 5 out of 5. And for the manga readers, it's a bit lower. I think they gave it, 44% gave it a 5 out of 5. So overall, the anime only seemed to enjoy it more.
Good enough considering that manga onlys aren't crazy about Reiner's everyday life and stuff like that. They for sure expect, they're looking for some other scenes in this arc, I'd say.
Well, I wonder if they decided to give it a lower rating because, things were missing. Or, like we said, it's going by too quickly. Maybe it's not even for dislike, for the warrior side of the cast. One funny thing is also, like, next episode, we know it's going to be a flashback. The anime onlys were asked, how excited are you finally to get the warrior backstory? and about 70% of them was like, hell yes. And I'd say like 90% in total is looking forward to it. So yeah, I think it's time to move into the manga spoilers. So, anime only, thank you for listening so far. We'll take a short break. And after the break, we will dive into the spoilers. Finally.
Bye, anime onlys.
Bye bye. See you next week. So, welcome back, everyone. We're going to discuss the episode a little bit more in depth now. And we're going to be mentioning some manga spoilers. So, Porco, let's start with you. What's this topic you want to start with?
Eren's appearance and everything. I think it was really subtle in the anime. From my reactions I've seen from anime onlys, not everyone picked up on it, but yeah, I like the approach Mappa is doing with first showing us Jean and everything. Like it's like slowly building up the tension. I honestly thought it was executed really well.
I have watched a bunch of reactions on YouTube, and many people have completely missed him, but some got it about Eren when the scene with Falco happens. However, not a single person got the scene on the balcony. And I think that's because they only show the top of his head in the anime. And since we already saw Jean in the last episode, people are now looking for clues for more characters. So in the manga, we see his back and the armband on the wrong side, which gives it away. And I remember that a lot of people, including me, were certain it was Eren because it just had to be him with the armband on the wrong side. No one else could have possibly done that but him. But in the anime, they only show the top of his head. And since it's long black hair or dark hair, many people seem to think that it was some of the female characters, like either Sasha, Mikasa, or Hanji. So that was interesting to see.
I saw some anime only thinking it was Peak, looking over them, watching out for them.
Guardian Angel.
I thought it was weird that no one made the connection after seeing Eren with Falco, because a lot of people there got it, and I would think that they would think back to that scene and be like, "Oh, wait a minute, we already saw him." But no one really commented on that. Maybe they will notice it after rewatching it. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
It's kind of funny because I'm looking at like the poll results from what was it, chapter 93, when we first saw Eren, but like from the back and with this armband on the wrong side. And like the vast majority of people did not guess that it was Eren. I think only 3%
Wow.
guessed correctly that it
No
was
way.
Eren.
Wow.
Like 36% thought it was like a random person, like nobody interesting. And well, 43% did think it was like a spy from Paradis, but like not specifically Eren. So, I mean, I'm okay with like letting this go for like the anime onlys if they didn't recognize him.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I felt about it. Like I don't even remember if I know this Terran or not.
I remember definitely that we, at least when I say we, I mean my circle of friends with the other Warrior fans and Reiner fans, we definitely talked about it being Eren. And then
Yeah.
in the next chapter, again, you don't really see his face in full in 94, but in next chapter by 94, we were 100% sure it was Eren. People still were unconvinced until like 97. So
Yeah, and even then people didn't recognize him. I was
Mhm.
like, how do you not recognize those eyes?
Yeah. Well,
But
his eyes weren't shown in 94, but if even in 97, yeah.
no, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we had our suspicions, I remember, in 93, but like 94 was really confirmed because he was like putting the speech bubbles like over Aaron's face or something. Like he
Yeah.
was deliberately trying to not show his face, which
Yeah.
at that point we knew it has to be someone we know.
Sneaky Sayama.
I guess I always thought Eren would look really good with long hair because his Titan has long hair. So it was a welcome change to his design and appearance.
Yeah, it was foreshadowed in a way. Like after the events of Return to Shiganshina, we had this one chapter, which is like a year later. His hair is significantly longer. So you'd only assume he's gonna let it grow. But like one thing I found interesting was at the end of episode 1, they showed us Jean, right? But at that
Yes.
point in time, Jean and Eren have not communicated yet. And like Survey Corps and everyone are completely lost. They didn't get letters from Eren. They only knew what was gonna happen after they got letters from Falco, which is gonna happen in the next 2 episodes, I assume. So yeah, it's interesting that they decided to show it. It seems as if they are planning something, but actually at that point in time they are still very lost.
Yeah, I think they knew that Eren went to Marley without them, but they didn't know where he was, so they were just keeping track on like the events that were happening until Eren got in touch with them.
I often think about that because like these guys must have, like Mikasa, what was she doing? Like she was freaking out. It's been months.
She was having a nervous breakdown somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are anime onlys and during the YouTube reactions, they theorize about the infiltration going on, and they really do believe that there's this whole plan already happening.
Yeah. But that's what everyone else thought as well in the manga. They were like, yeah, Eren is there with the Service Corps permission, and they're gonna, they're on the same page. And
Well,
then
I mean, eventually they did come to his aid, so I guess it's pretty much the same thing, really.
not really, because he kind of went off on his own and he kind of forced them to come, more or less.
No, of course, that is true. But I mean that what mattered to the readers is that we saw those characters again and they took part in action. So that's my point.
Okay, no, I was just mentioning, like, whether the Survey Corps was there, like, if they were in cooperation with Eren from the beginning. That they thought similarly about the whole event in Liberio, but
yeah, they really didn't.
No. But do you think it was subtle enough, or do you think it was too obvious?
I don't think it was too obvious because many people didn't get it at all. That shows it wasn't obvious, I guess. I mean, if I was an anime only, I'm sure I would have understood it was Eren because, I mean, we saw him in the trailer with this exact appearance, sans the, bandages on his eye. I don't know how those people can possibly not get that it's him, but they didn't, so I guess it's subtle enough.
I think it was just fine. If someone wants to look deeper into things, I'm sure they would notice. If not, like even better, you got a surprise coming in an episode or two.
To me, it wasn't too obvious, even if you've seen the trailer, because he looks pretty good in the trailer, and here he looks like a smelly hobo, and it didn't focus as much on his face, so I feel like it's still subtle enough. Like, it seems like he's going to be an important character, but it doesn't necessarily have to be someone we know. So I think it's still ambiguous enough for anime onlys.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about, like, Porco? And he had a little bit more interaction with Falco, which I'm guessing is because it's leading up to Porco eventually passing on his Titan to Falco.
So if I can start with my essay,
okay.
If I may. So
let me take a coffee.
No, I promise it won't be that long.
Okay.
So they're my favorite characters. To me personally, this relationship between Reiner, Gabi, Falco, and Porco is very important in the story. And they have a lot of parallels going between them since both pairs have been in this competition to get the armored Titan, which eventually goes wrong. It's pretty much sabotaged both times. So I think all fans fully understand how deep and how pure the connection is between Reiner and the kids, because it has been established on screen for a good while. But when it comes to Porco, tons of people seem to miss a lot of it. There are many moments where Porco has shown his care for Gabi and Falco in manga. I mean, when he cheers for Falco winning the race against Gabi in 98, and how he always protects them on the battlefield as well. And vice versa, how the kids looked out for him as well during the Liberia battle. But all those interactions, they have been much more subtle, so it's easy for them to go unnoticed for many people. especially if you compare it to Reiner's scenes with the kids. So I think it's a wonderful idea that they decided to include this to show his softer side and to establish his bond with the kids and make it much more obvious for the viewers. And I personally couldn't be happier about it because I don't think I will ever have one more bad day in my entire life because the scene exists and it just makes me so happy to look at. They really did a good job drawing his smile and he just looks so happy and my heart really can't take it. No. It's too good.
Yeah, like I've spoken about it earlier. I think the relationship between warriors and the candidates is important, and one of Porco's most defining features, which people often overlook, is that he really does care about his comrades and he's really passionate about protecting them, which we see with when Bertolt is mentioned later and like when Peek and Zeke get injured and all that. So yeah, seeing him just be all this cute and like warm with them is a nice detail to his character. Makes him, again, like I said, makes him slightly more likable to those who don't want to look deeper into his character and take that extra mile to find some cool traits about him, which, like I said, we discussed this before, like a lot of things about him go overlooked and his character. So yeah, I'm glad that anime just painted it a bit better for wider audiences, let's say.
Yeah, I love the addition of him like patting Falco and also Gabi. It's just he's so wholesome this episode. I love it.
Oh, yes.
And they feel like a family, like they feel like a group which is really tight and close together.
I mean, more so than in the manga, for me at least. Yeah, it's they're really enforcing, how well they work together, how much they look out for each other. Like it's gonna hurt when it
Oh,
all
yeah.
comes crumbling down. Oh.
Because even like in the manga, I remember when they find out that Zeke is the traitor. I remember
Hmm.
Porco grabbing his head. He's like, "Oh God!" Like
No.
it was really painful
Yeah.
for him.
He really didn't see it coming, unlike
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else. Zeke betraying them really still hurts me so much. Like, Zeke is such an awesome character. I think he's a really great character. He's very funny. There's a lot of in the story that depends on him, but the way he betrayed his family to be protective of Eren, who is his brother by blood, but Eren then betrays him in return. So it's like, yeah, Zeke,
No,
you
no.
betrayed your real brothers and sisters
And
to
Colt,
get
like
that.
Colt was his real little brother actually, and not Eren. And just seeing him make the wrong choice there is just, I think it's poetic justice in a way.
Karma is a bitch.
Yeah, I think for me personally, Zeke killing Colt is the most irredeemable part of him. Like nothing can change
Yeah.
that for me, because he really did not have to kill Colt. He really could have just waited, and they could have battled there for a little longer. He could have let Colt and Falco get away, but he chose not to. He deliberately
I
chose
mean,
not to do that. So
did he really mean to kill Colt though?
it was obvious he was going to die.
I mean, well, yeah, Colt held on to Falco. It's not like Colt tried to make a run for it.
Yeah.
Well, still, it was pretty obvious that he was going to get killed.
Colt could have if he wasn't such a caring brother, but
I mean, I kind of love that scene. That's kind of where I started to really love Colt, where he just holds on to Falco and says everything's going to be okay.
Colt is really sweet, but his death was pretty useless, really, because, he knew that there were Titan shifters around, including Zeke, so he could have tried to fit Zeke to Falco instead of, dying.
I know, but it's just so sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet, and it is a very important moment. Like, it defines both Zeke and Colt really well, I think.
it's the most tragic moment, like most tragic death in the manga for me. The tragic part is it not having a big purpose and it happening like purely out of love.
Yeah.
Which is just devastating to me.
Yeah. Maybe they'll add more scenes with Colt. I would love that.
I hope so for sure, yeah.
Because they animate him quite well.
Yeah, I hope they do show him playing catch with Zeke.
Mm.
They have to, really.
They really should. Hopefully not cut that out. Let's hope not.
No! I
Please
want to
no.
see that.
I really felt Colt was gonna be important. Like after Marley arc, you see, like he had a lot of screen time, and then he just shows up on Paradise, reunites with Falco for 1-2 chapters, and just dies. That's the day when I realized Isayama hates warriors.
No, he doesn't. But he's cruel
Yeah,
to
he's
them.
cruel. To them more than to the Survey Corps, I'd say.
Well, I hope in the end, our suffering will be repaid.
Hope so.
So, the scenes we look most forward to.
Do you want to go first, Alina?
Sure. I definitely look forward to my favorite chapters, which are 104 and 119. And yes, both of them will kill me emotionally.
They're also my favorite chapters, so I don't know what to say.
Episode 5 will most likely have chapters 99 and 100, and I really anticipate that as well, that the tension in that episode is going to be just crazy. I'm really wondering how they're going to handle the flashbacks, because I think they may move some of Reiner's flashback from, well, that are supposed to happen next episode to episode number 5, because they just will not have enough screen time for them next week. Well, this week, I mean, this Sunday. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's not that I want them to move those flashbacks there. It's just that I think those two chapters, in particular, 99 and 100, they're kind of slow because there's a lot of talking going on, and just two scenes that we see, really taking the stage, and Eren and Reiner talking in the basement. So I think they can fit some of those flashbacks there. When Reiner talked about their time on Paradise, how he forced Annie and Bertolt to act, I think they can move some of that there. We'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle flashbacks, because I can't figure out like any plan. They must honestly, like I've tried to figure out how to fit everything, and just I got no idea. But yeah, I'm looking forward for seeing like chapter 119 as well. For obvious reasons, it was like such an emotional roller coaster for me, and like loving Porco, and I honestly think he has the best stat in the manga.
Yeah, no doubt. No contest.
I was hurt, but at the same time I wasn't hurt, because like if he were to die, this is like the perfect way to die. And I always expected him to die, maybe not this early, but yeah, it's interesting that like he's one of these characters who are gonna die this season. Actually, him and Colt. A lot of other deaths are gonna happen in the like aftermath project, which either is gonna be a movie or another season.
It's interesting that you say that. I want to bring up a little fact here, if I may. On manga covers, there's the back part of it, and they show you the characters. Since Maleak has started, they had the picture of the warriors there. And then as it was progressing, they added Eren to the left. So there's like Malen group on the right. And initially it had all of them. So it had Zeke, Reiner, Porco, Colt, Peak, and 4 kids on it. And they added Eren to the left, and then they added the Survey Corps to the left when they appeared. And then as characters started dying, they started taking them off the covers. So first, Zofia and Udo were taking, and Sasha. Then Zeke was moved to the left. So Zeke was moved to Eren's group. And interestingly enough, on volume 31, so volume 30 includes chapters from 119 to 122. And in 119, Porco and Colt die. And in 122, Eren's transformation happens into the founding titan. And since volume 31, they not only took Porco and Colt off those covers, they also took Zeke and Eren off. So I'm not sure how much we can rely on that, because, I don't know.
I mean, we saw Eren be decapitated, so...
Yes, I mean, when Handry and Levi were out of the plot for a while, they were still on the cover. So they were thought to be dead quote unquote, in the story. They were never
Yeah.
taking off the back cover. So, like I said, I'm not sure how much we can rely on that, because I'm not sure if Isayama does those, if it's just done by an editor. But Zeke and Eren were taken out as if they both died. And since last chapter, since Falco now has like those two alternative forms for his Titan, like a jaw form and a beast form, some people are
Mhm.
speculating. And also, we saw Zeke's Titan among those dead Titans that are
Yeah.
spoken about as Titans of the past shifters. So people are now saying, what if Zeke did die in that chapter? So maybe he still exists as spirit and past or whatever, so we may still see him as a character. But what if he's physically dead and his power was passed on? And I'm thinking, okay, if Zeke is dead, what if Eren is also physically dead because he's decapitated? What if his power also transferred to someone? And I'm not going to, go into more theorizing here. I'm just going to give all our listeners this food for thought here. So think about it. Think about what consequences it may bring for further chapters. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I for sure think that the battle of Shiganshina Part 2, right, with Marlene's and Eren getting decapitated, it needs to have some weight later on. Like these, them losing their bodies and having consequences because of that need to like something like that needs to happen, because people just randomly dying and them both getting out scot-free is just not something I'd be a fan of. I think I never expected Zeke to be like physically present. I don't think his character arc is over, though I'm more and more scared with each chapter, honestly, with how Isayama is handling all that. I think for sure it's gonna be a problem for Eren because we currently see he's only a head. And I like
Mhm.
to think that
Yeah.
Porco's death, like Porco died biting on Eren's legs, like it's what caused his death, more or less. Like he was trying to prevent him from touching, and like because of all that they didn't touch on time, and because of all that Gabi got to shoot his head off. So I want like Gabi shooting the head off to have some impact later on.
Ah, okay, because you don't want Porco's death to be to have some more meaning to it at
I mean,
least.
it already has a lot, but
Yes, it has a lot of meaning with Falco's Titan now, because actually, sorry again to butt in, but I obviously cannot shut up when we're talking about Jaw Titans and Porco. Uh, if you take any of Jaw Titan's sacrifices out of the plot, it completely changes the whole thing. Because if you really think about it, each one of them, like if Ymir didn't eat Marcel and ate Reiner instead, they would have taken her as an armored titan back to Marley, because Marcel would have been alive. They would have taken Ymir's now transformed self as a human back to Marley, and she would have, as an armored titan, she would have been fed to Porco. If Ymir didn't go back with Reiner and Bert and Zeke and Peak back to Parody, I'm sure, not back, sorry, not back to Parody, I mean back to Mali from Parody. If she didn't sacrifice herself, I'm sure upon return, when Zeke and Peak would have returned with Reiner, Reiner would have been fed to Porco, because that would mean that they have lost 3 Titans there. So Reiner would have been the only survivor of the operation, and Zeke threatened him actually a few times before time skip about passing down his Titan. And so Porco was obviously the next one in the line. And so again, everything would have been completely different. If Porco didn't sacrifice himself and didn't give Jaw Titan to Falco, we wouldn't have this flying Titan now. So all of the aliens would have been dead this chapter, because they were only safe because he flew to save them from that hellish battlefield with all those zombie titans. So
So many what ifs.
yeah, so it would have completely changed everything. So I really think it has a lot of meaning anyway already. But if we can add more meaning to it, sure, I'm up for it.
Yeah, and I already discussed last episode what I was looking forward most, which is the unarmored Titan.
oh yeah, yeah,
Let's hope, please, it's not in 3D.
yeah.
Please, no.
I'm
Please,
still
no.
curious what was in Isayama's mind when creating that scene and making him look so handsome and like so good.
Yeah, you know that Isayama is horny for Reiner. Like, have you read the
Oh, and of
descriptions?
course, of course. I think the interesting thing, like someone pointed out to me, was that Eren's human now, like his human face looks like a monster, basically, like which we've seen on the back of one at the end of one chapter. Like, and Reiner's Titan face there looked like a human, which was like
Yeah.
interesting parallel between them. And I take my chances to bash Eren from time to time, so don't mind me.
Yeah, and I want to kind of go back to what Alina said, like that Zeke and even Eren might be dead. I think there's a good chance because, like Poco said, Eren doesn't have a nape; he's just like a skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
There might be something in his ass or up his ass. We don't know, but there might be something there. But there might be nothing there. So there's a good chance, like that, their physical bodies are no longer in this world.
Yeah, I think that if characters like Mikasa and Armin would realize that they cannot get Eren back because he's already physically dead, so they have to just kill the Titan form now. It would be easier for them to go full force at him because now they keep thinking about, no, we should talk to him. No, we'll get Eren back. Eren, talk to us. Even Reiner doesn't really feel like battling against him full force, I think, because they all have these delusions about, oh, he wants to be stopped, he wants to be talked to, he's being, and last chapter Armin talks about how it's Emir Fritz that's behind it, which I personally do not buy at all.
No,
Yeah.
you don't think that she's.
I don't think she's the mastermind. I mean, she's obviously working with the Titans because Eren, I don't want to say brainwashed her, no. He manipulated her because she is, to me, her character, when I think about her, I always think about what Frida said. She called her Krista, not Emir. And I think that may still work, that may still play out because when she was a slave, she had her tongue cut, and we never hear her speak one word in the whole story.
True.
So the name Emir may be just a nickname given to her by King Fritz, which would again work with this whole parallel of our freckled Emir getting her name as a nickname and Historia getting nicknamed Krista. So it just completes the whole circle, really. So I think that may work. And Frida called her Krista because she had access to her memories, direct access to her memories through the founding Titan. Because Eren didn't. When Eren and Zeke meet in Path, he sees her and he goes like, "Who the hell is that?" And Zeke says, "It's no other than Emir Fritz, the founder." And Eren first commands her. He says like, "Give me your power," and she ignores him. And then after seeing the flashbacks, he realizes what buttons to press, and he starts sweet talking her into, yes, this world is so bad, let's destroy it. And of course, she, being a trapped spirit who's been trapped for 2,000 years, she wants to escape from it, I'm sure, from this hellish state she's been in. And so she goes along with it. But we see her appear as spirit watching the kids die when Ramsey and Halil get stomped. And now we see her appear with Armin getting swallowed. And we see her in the beginning of this chapter when she frees the pigs. And what Frida said about her, she said, she is a kind girl who always thinks of others, which I think fits her character fully because she always just went with what she's told to do. She got this amazing magical power. She turned into this huge titan, and she still followed with what King Fritz told her. She carried his children she didn't want. She uh, led the wars for him she didn't want. Even though she could have easily killed him, and do whatever she wanted with it. But she always followed what others told her. And it's the same thing that's Eren doing with her. He told her what to do. He's telling her, let's destroy the world. Let's do it. It's horrible. Let's end it. Give me your power. And she does that. So she's now going along with him. But I think somebody, possibly Falco, because now he has the memories. And again, I think Falco will have a big role in all of this because all the connections with the hawk that lives on the world tree from Scandinavian mythology, Yggdrasil, it's called, if I'm not butchering up the pronunciation in English. The ending from the anime, his future memories that may or may not be a red herring that they're adding to the anime. The birds symbolism, it's all really coming together. And I think eventually what we'll see in the story is Falco addressing her by Krista, which would wake her up from this zombie-like state, because both she and Eren are in this zombie-like state still in path, and she needs to be talked to. She needs to wake up from this zombie state. She needs to be talked to, and since we see her again with this scene of freeing the pigs in the beginning of this chapter, as a kind person who just really wants to do good to others. She's kind to animals. I'm assuming, since she went again with doing what she was told to, she wanted to be kind to her people, and going by what Frida said. So she doesn't look like a maniac to me, She looks like she's just a poor girl who really wanted to do the best, who didn't know what to do because she didn't have, any friends or any other ideas, I guess, about life. Because, in her state that she was in, it's not surprising to me that she didn't really act. But if she talks to the kids, and again, we have this talk about children going out of the forest, and again, this tree in the past realm, it's really all coming together if you think about it. There's the Christian mythology and the symbolism of apple, the birds, and Krista name being driven from Jesus Christ. It's the same name basically. And
Interesting.
on the other side, we have Ymir and the Scandinavian mythology. It's really all, I think, coming together. So that's how I think the story will eventually finish, with her spirit being eventually on the good side of the conflict, stopping the rumbling, and just them destroying together. Them, I mean the kids, destroying the Bath realm and freeing her spirit, and her taking Titan powers with it. And so Eldians will finally be free from the curse, and the world will just be saved.
Well, you have more confidence in that ending than I do, because she wasn't a kid when she died, and she didn't have the happiest life. So, and she had 2,000 years pure agony and paths to relive all that, where time moves differently.
She's a kid in the past, so
I know, but mentally, I don't know what's going on in her head at this moment. So,
Yeah, it's the same thing how Eren is kid and Pats as well. Like, he's not a kid, but we've only seen his kid version in there. I think there's something about that.
mhm.
I don't know. I agree, though, that the Falco is going to have a more important role than people initially think. I think he was built up for something in the Marley arc. Like, he had a lot of screen time, only for him to fall in the background and let Gabi take the spotlight. I always thought that he was gonna, like, get his role back, because Isayama likes to. He has an idea for characters and what they are gonna accomplish at some point, but up until that moment, he sometimes doesn't know what to do with them. It's how I feel with Mikasa at the time, because like she's gonna have a huge role in the finale regarding Eren, and her arc is like stagnating a lot up until that point, and like a bit with Reiner maybe. So yeah, I think that's the case with Falco.
I can see that. Yeah, I mean he has to be important in the ending, Falco. I am 100% convinced of that.
And I need to mention this. I'm gonna be super pissed if I don't. And while we're on the
Okay.
topic of the latest chapter, like Eren has explosives around his neck. We know these are gonna go off eventually, right? His head is gonna go off. Let's say, like it's gonna be detached from his body, and near his head we find this Titan, which is Warhammer, right? Which has a spear. Like it's a trident technically, but it can make weapons. And like a spear, a giant head, and Reiner being around reminds me a lot of a certain statue in Marley of a certain guy whose name I forgot. Yeah, just gonna say that. Yeah,
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Nice imagery for sure.
I mean my money is on that. I've been talking about Helos so much that like if it doesn't happen, people are gonna hang me. I feel.
I think it all really comes together because in the real world we need to destroy Eren's monstrous form, and then the kids can take it over to the Path Realm and destroy Yggdrasil and free Ymir, or quote unquote Ymir, as I always say. I just really feel it was such a weird change for season 3 to make, for Frida to be addressing her as Krista, because in manga it was handled differently, and
It was.
yeah. So I think it's such a weird change to make if that doesn't have any role. So I am really putting my bet on that one. I really am. And I love all these connections with names, and don't even get me started on connections between Porco and Falco's names, because
I know. But
I will shut up on that one. But Krista has to work for sure.
Let's hope so.
well, let's hope we find out in 2021. So we've heard a lot about like Alina's ending theories, but have you also seen or heard some really funny or interesting anime only theories from this episode?
So far, not like apart from the casual like, oh, Reiner is gonna go onto the good side, join the good guys and everything like that. I think it's a bit too early for all that. I mean, none of the things I've seen are correct even closely. So like, I hope for more time to pass, and then when they have a bit bigger picture, I'm gonna get into their theories. So far, like, I haven't followed enough.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much around either. And I would say that people, for the most part, don't realize the scale of horrors that's about to happen, because they think that surely Eren and the crew will attack Molly, but they think, that's about it. But oh boy, they don't even know how terrible it's going to eventually get. So I'm really looking forward to see the reactions from people, for sure. It's going to be great.
I'm looking through like the poll results if anyone had a interesting theory. So one anime only says he thought that the leader of the Tiber family was Marley's leader
Oh,
based on the trailer.
interesting.
Which is true.
So
Correct. Bravo, anime only guy.
Bingo.
and he's like, I think he may be the Warhammer Titan, but it's hard to tell at this point.
I mean, I think we all
Let's
thought
see.
at some point that he might be Warhammer Titan, and like his sister came out of nowhere, which was a cute change.
We speculated that it was likely to be not Willy himself, but somebody from the family. And I personally was hoping, of course, for a female user as usual. And it actually worked twice. I think that when we knew Peak as a Titan, I always hoped for a female user. I thought it would be so much funnier, and just it turned out to be as great as I expected. And then with Warhammer, I also thought, okay, what if it's not Willy? What if it's a female user instead? What if it's his like wife or sister? And well, I guess technically wife wouldn't work, because she wouldn't be from the bloodline, but sister, or aunt, cousin, whatever. And
Grandma Tiber.
yeah, grandma would have been
Grandma
one.
Tiber with a Titan. Like
Amazing.
her Titan with the walkers like creates. Yeah.
He also mentions that he wonders if the Warhammer Titan will be a letdown, because originally he thought that the Warhammer Titan would be the big boss of the Titans, but after learning that this Titan doesn't go through the training like the other shifters and never fought, he's like, well, it's going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, I'm curious about the CGI with Warhammer. I haven't thought about it before. Now that's
Yeah,
an interesting thing.
in the trailers it didn't seem CGI, but I also know that they changed a lot from the trailer to the actual episode.
They changed everything.
Yeah, so
Outside there was just 2 frames, one with Zeke and one with Reiner on the blimp, which they included.
yeah,
They changed the coloring a little. They added some shading to that, but
they changed Zeke's face a little bit as well, if I recall correctly. Yeah,
So they kept those 2. Everything else they completely changed so far.
yeah.
So
So it might be CGI.
yeah, I'm waiting
anxious,
for that.
but let's see. Like I said, somebody talked about 2D Titans again with the leakers, so who knows? And like CGI we've seen so far was decent, like so surprised me.
It
not
wasn't
some-
awful.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
One final thing I want to mention: he was curious how Peek's father was shown, but not the mother. And he thinks that because Peek's father didn't look Oriental, but Peek does, he thinks they may have another Mikasa on their hands, like half Ackerman, half Oriental.
That's only because they screwed up her nose. Actually, we were talking about the designs earlier. I agree that the majority of them are excellent, but Peaks I'm really not happy with. I think they made her hair too short, and they are definitely not doing a good job with her nose at all. It looks really usual on most frames.
Mhm.
Some frames, some scenes she seems like she has her manga nose, but when you see her in profile, no, it's just a regular cute little nose instead of her big nose like in manga, and that's a shame because it I think really changes her overall look completely. And I mean, I'm a fan of big noses, so.
I think the nice change was showing her father like coughing and like showing that he has like a health issue, even if it's like a brief scene. It's cute.
Yeah. I'm glad they included that. Shall we move into the questions from our listeners?
Yep.
Yeah, sure, let's go.
Let me start with a question for Porco. HooveredBraunie asks, what do you think about the pacing so far? Do you like it or do you want more fillers? I think, especially the last part, I want to know.
I mean, like I said, I think it's important for these new characters to, if you're talking from anime only perspective, it's important for like them to meet the warriors and like feel for the warriors so they feel conflicted later on when the battle starts, especially because one of fourth are portrayed as not so good, like they kill a lot of civilians and all that. I think it's really important for that. And the more time you have to like sit on the characters, like weeks, I'm talking like not only episode time but like real life time, like weeks pass, the more you're gonna think about them and like get more
Mm.
familiar with them. I think like number of episodes there is important. And regarding filler, I'd always watch like you can give me an episode of warriors eating like, or I don't know, Porco making his sandwich and I'm gonna watch that. Like you can give me any warrior filler and I'm up for it. So yeah, I'd want some for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I wouldn't mind more warriors, so can we just not extend this arc in the amount of episodes? I want more.
Yeah, same. Really, it's a shame. I think it's the most liked arc in the manga. I think if you look at the voting and everything,
Yeah,
people like Marley the
I
most.
think so too.
Maybe not for the same reasons as maybe us here.
No.
Some like
No, I think for them, like, probably the pinnacle is, like, chapter 100 and 101 and 2, the fight.
It's a really good arc overall.
Yeah. Okay. So, my co-host, who isn't here, also has a question for Alina. So, she asks, "Alina, I wanna know your studio connections because dang, this season has been good for Kalide. Is it mafia? Blackmail? Spies on the inside? Or does Mappa just naturally have a soft spot for the pork oats to make him so smiley and perfect?"
You got me. You got me. I'm Willard the Wonka, the ruler of Oompa Loompas, destroyer of dental health, and I have bought Mappa Studios with my infinite wealth, and I have forced them to create this anime season according to my own personal liking. In all seriousness, though, I really couldn't be happier with this season because it's been really kind to us, Gallery shippers, and I don't like to bring shipping into serious discussions because a big part of me feels like shipping is something very silly. But at the same time, it what makes me happy and what inspires me to create art. And so I think I should be able to speak about this with pride from the bottom of my heart. I really started shipping them back when chapter 93 came out. And it changed my life in a way because I completely created this whole, new sub fandom for it, pretty much. And I'm pretty sure I was the first person to draw a fan art of them together because I was patiently waiting for someone else to do it because I knew there would be consequences, and there were, but no one did, so I had to take the wheel. And the community has really grown so big ever since, and I'm so happy with so many friends that I've made over years, and to see so many artists join it. And other people, fanfic writers, just people who appreciate it. Like I said, chapter 93 really changed my life, and I'm so grateful with how the character arc between Porco and Reiner have concluded in manga. And it's really perfect, and I'm so happy to see anime adaptation finally come to life. And I'm so happy to be here today to be discussing this episode with you guys. It's really special to me. I love Mappa for giving their relationship this focus it deserves, I think. And I cannot wait to see what else they have in store. And I can wait to see more fans to be enamored with the ship. And both Kimikiara comic this week and the end card for the episode. I mean, have you seen them? They are great. And the preview for the next episode, I wanted to say that it's such a little tiny panel in the manga they could have easily skipped. And I remember back when spoilers were out for chapter 94, this part was actually not in the this batch with the textual spoilers, and then there were picture spoilers for the chapter, and those pages were not in it. And we kept talking about how surely there has to be some reaction from Porco for Reiner to be getting the Titan, because we saw this rivalry happening between them in the previous chapter. And then when the chapter finally was released and we saw it was a Scabadon panel, we couldn't believe it that out of all the possible reactions, Isayama went with that. And now for the next episode of the anime, they included it in the preview for the episode twice, and they used it as a episode image for the site as well. So, well, I'm truly living my best life right now. What can I say?
Yeah, I think it's clear because you keep going on and on and on.
They keep giving me food. What else can I do? It's just.
So let's move on to Erenscollarbone's question. And he asks, what is the most important literally aspect in this arc that at any cost should not be removed or not have been removed? So according to you, that is the part between Porco and Reiner?
No. No, I did not say that. I don't
Okay.
think anything plot relevant can possibly be removed. So I think the core of the story is going to be fine. We already talked, I think, about all the little scenes that were removed or maybe got moved to further episodes. So again, I don't think anything fundamental is going to be moved from this. So uh, it's just not something that I think is worth discussing, because it's not like they're going to completely change the story. They're clearly not going to do that. No. I mean, the director talked about it already. They are going to try to stick to manga as much as they can.
Yeah, I think the story isn't gonna, the anime isn't gonna make any drastic changes. But if you're talking about things that we need to focus on, I think one is definitely Reiner's backstory and his mindset, like what he's thinking when he's breaking down the wall, when the Marcel thing happens. All of that I want them to pay attention to. And the second one, which is like thematic for the season and the Marley arc especially, is probably the Liberio battle and innocent people dying, like children dying, Flock burning these buildings. 104, like people are gonna think I'm bashing them. I'm not really, but I don't blame them as much as I blame Eren for all that. And I just want these horrors to be shown, that the story has now changed drastically, that everyone has blood on their hands, and that we can't go back basically after we've done all that. Civilians are dying and all that. It shows how truly horrible war is. And we've seen, like from the trailer even, that they're gonna focus heavily on that this season, and I don't think you actually get to experience that up until Liberia battle, which just shows like complete wreckage. What happens when the city gets turned into a battlefield, when like children die, when
I think they will, because everything we've seen so far and everything they've added so far is really focusing on how awful war is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they will continue that up until the battle in Liberio.
Yeah, I'm really not worried about that either. I'm sure that's going to be shown in full detail.
And I don't think this is necessarily one of the most important aspects, but I wonder if they'll include like the scene with Eren's grandfather.
Oh, they better do that.
Because that's the only one I could see them cut, potentially.
I think like the second warrior meeting can be cut as well.
Which one?
The second warrior meeting when they talk to Marley officials like Reiner and everyone, and then they see kids play outside, or like kids race
Oh, that
outside.
one.
I think they might,
No.
No,
They
they
cannot.
shouldn't
They
do that.
cannot.
You cannot cut that one.
and the one with Willy and Magath before the festival, because like I assume next episode is gonna be Reiner's backstory,
Yes.
and maybe like I hope it's in entirety Reiner's flashbacks. But then we get introduced to the festival, right? And Willy and Magath. But we know episode 4 ends apparently with Eren and Reiner meeting, which is during festival. So like, I wonder if Magath and Willy have their second meeting, one where Willy says that he knows about rats that have infiltrated the country.
Episode 4 is definitely going to end where chapter 98 ends, so with Eren and Reiner meeting in the basement. And like I said, I think they may move some of Reiner's flashbacks further to when they talk with Eren. So pacing wise, it should be fine, I think. Well, I mean, it's not going to be fine, as in it's still going to be very quick, but I don't feel that they should drastically cut stuff. And I definitely hope they will not cut either Magath and Willis scenes, because I think those are wonderful. I love both of those characters as well, and I would love to see them at least for some time, because they have such little screen time elsewhere. Well, Magath has more, but Willie, dies there in just a few episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I think some part of Reiner's flashbacks can be moved to the conversation with Eren, because there's this scene with the farmer who hangs himself and
Yeah.
Bertolt, and it is referenced a bit in the manga, like it's moved there a bit. I think they can move it all the way up until that.
Yeah,
chapter.
definitely. And I for sure wouldn't want to see the second Warriors meeting cut, because I think, again, that's a very important moment when they see Gabi and Falco race and they look at them. It's a really important moment, because you see Porco cheer for Falco, and Zeke and Colt talk about Big Brother's thing.
Yeah.
Reiner and Porco have this tension there as well, and it later plays out in chapter 119. So it really has to be kept, I think, there for just plot purposes. It really builds up this whole conflict with the brother thing and the inheritance of the Titans. So I really wouldn't want to see that removed, no.
No, I agree. I do hope they cut some of the superfluous scenes between Willy and Magath, because when I was reading the manga, there were some scenes where I was like, didn't we already discuss this exact same thing?
Maybe they will rephrase it better, yeah.
They can cut Kiyomi and Udo scene. I don't care
Aw.
about
That one is definitely included, because it was already talked about in spoilers for the anime. So
Oh, okay then.
that one
Never mind.
is included for sure.
All right. Then I hope I pronounce it correctly. Dorovahkiin, aka Pound Town on Twitter. If you had the opportunity to send your favorite character a message, be it a message of encouragement, appeal, whatever, just after the events of episode 2, what would it be?
Reiner gets a better bed. A bigger one, please.
I would just say that I'm so proud of them, and I'm proud of their bonds. I'm proud of their bravery, and I'm sure the future of the world is bright because of them. So their hard work will pay off in the end.
Hopefully. And message for Gabi: aim a bit higher. Not talking about Sasha, talking about Eren.
Yeah, I know. We know. You don't have to tell us.
Yeah.
Would that have made the difference, though? I really don't think so.
Or maybe aim for Connie. I don't care.
Poor Connie.
Jesus.
The way I don't care about Connie, it's insane.
Nobody does, apparently, on this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry to all those Connie fans, if they really exist. Against, I really don't have anything. I really don't have anything against Connie, but I think he's a pretty not important character.
Wasted potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps saying. So
sorry, Connie stands, all 5 of you.
I think I would send them a message like, enjoy this while it lasts.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Enjoy the festival and the food.
Yeah. And I would send Reiner a message to take Alina out of his will.
No.
Oh yeah.
But that's it.
I think he did it already.
I'm sure his entire will is on Gabi. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
It should be. Okay, so the final question is from KarenEdwardsTV. Let's see. What are your all's thoughts about Marley's position on Eldians? If Titans ever became truly obsolete, do you think Marley would actually commit genocide against all Eldians?
Well, don't think some Titans can fully be like, no matter how advanced the technology is, I don't think Titans can fully be useless. I think even nowadays you'd find some uses for them. Like they're better than soldiers. And like Colossal Titan, for example, is a free nuke, like with little to no downside. So yeah, I don't think they would fully be useless. Though if it comes at the cost of them keeping Eldians and Eldians rebelling or like fearing for like the founding Titan reawakening or whatnot, I think they might do that honestly, because they fear Eldians, and what you fear you seek to destroy sooner or later. So yeah, like some time would have to pass, but I think eventually they would cause trouble for the Eldians.
Do you agree with that, Alina?
Yeah.
Because I wonder, because they really only have to worry about the founder, in a way. Unless, well, I mean, technically every Eldian could transform into a Titan. So if somebody steals some, like, Titan spinal fluid and decides to inject everyone in Liberia, for example.
My view on this is again that Mali is, or well, was run by Eldians since, as we talked about already earlier, it was run by Vili Taiber pretty much, who was the head of the Mali as a country, which I'm sure many people of in the fandom either forgot about or didn't even realize, but it is what it is. It was mentioned as a fact in the story, and if you want to check it, it is written in the Wikia, so you can fact check that. It's more about Eldians committing genocide against Eldians. So we really saw a lot of Malian characters who were much more human and understanding than they were racist. Eldians are not hated just because they're hated because of their power, because of their history, but mostly because of their, superhuman power to transform into huge beasts that eat others. So I really would hope that there's more good than bad in the world, our world and SNK world as well, and that eventually Eldians would be left in peace and with the power of the Nine Titans secured somewhere. And again, I really think that is what we're going to see in the ending. We are hopefully going to see the Titan powers just gone from the world. And with that, Eldians will finally be free. And I'm sure Mali as a country will not hate on them just for the fact that they're Eldians once the powers are gone. That there just would be no legitimate reason to do that. And I'm sure Isayama has a good ending in store for us.
Yes, yeah, just quickly regarding that, I think if you remove the power of the Titans, there might not be a way for them to do the blood tests and actually see who is Eldian and who isn't. And in all this confusion, like you basically wouldn't know who is Eldian at the end.
Yeah.
I always imagined that the power of the Titans could be over with is Zeke or someone, especially Zeke, replacing Ymir in the pets, and just since Ymir is always willing to, like, she was always listening basically and giving out the power, Zeke would deny that. Like Zeke has like prevent people from transforming, and any power that's ever been requested from Eldians, maybe it would be denied that way. So yeah, I always felt like it would be a neat ending.
Yeah, I can see something like that happening. Or, like I said, if the Path Realm just completely gets destroyed and the tree is dismantled and the spirit of Ymir Fritz just gets free, and so the powers would just be gone.
As long as it's not Naruto ending with some aliens and whatnot,
No,
like
please no.
as long as it's not that, I'm all up for it.
Oh, I sincerely doubt we'll get something like that.
Oh my god.
Listen, when I see that thing that Ymir touched under that tree, that spinal-looking thing, like
Yeah,
it scares me sometimes. You know?
yeah.
It's just Aaron's spine that went back in time.
Maybe I wouldn't be
Oh my
surprised.
god.
Wouldn't that be funny if Eren has just set up the whole history from the beginning? He was that spine inside the tree, and he used his time hours to go back there and to plant the seed of hatred. So people always keep justifying Eren about his mom, about everything that's happening, about the Titans, about the walls, but you probably heard about this theory with Eren commanding Dina to kill Carla, or Dinah, how is she
Yeah,
pronounced
I
in
was
English?
about to bring that up now.
Dinah, yeah.
Shout out to Yuri Brown for making that theory. I like that,
Mhm.
honestly. It has some evidence, and we're gonna see, like, in a month or two.
Yeah, I would really want to see that happen because so many people use that argument as something that justifies what Eren is doing. And if it turns out that he was indeed the one who pretty much killed his own mother, then they can no longer use that argument. And I'm sure Eren fans would still come up with more excuses. And I say Eren fans. I feel that I am an Eren fan myself. Honestly, I love him as a character. He's a great villain, but uh, you know, I don't like people who tend to completely mischaracterize him and misunderstand him, and especially people who justify him. Because you can love him, you can appreciate him, you can sim for him, but you have to realize what he's doing is bad. It's just bad. He's a monster. He's a monster.
Yeah, we agree there.
I mean, yeah. What else is there to say?
Yeah.
I think that kind of wraps up our entire discussion of the second episode.
Thank you very much for having us. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it quite a lot.
Enjoyed it too. I'm glad we finally made it happen, and I'm glad we could gush over Reiner and Porco.
Yep.
I hope we meet again for a Reiner Hellos chapter in the future.
2021 is going to be our year.
Yes, for
I
sure.
called dibs on that podcast long ago.
So I want to thank our listeners as well. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Feel free to like and leave a comment. And if you want to find our guests, Porco is at drunkhelos on Twitter. Although, disclaimer, don't follow him, he says. And you can find Alina at Alina James. And she also has some really cute Titan face masks if you're interested. So they will be pinned on our Twitter.
Mhm. Please do follow me.
Do follow Alina, yes. And also YouHearBigGirls, please. Also want to thank our patrons, Simon, Taryn, Kenny, NM, Tom, Silarana, Rubikas, and I'm going to call you Swedish Chef for now because I want Momtaku to read your actual Patreon name first. So once again, guys, thanks for being on. Who knows, we'll have our wish come true in the new year.
Yeah.
And for now, thank you for offering your hearts and your ears. And until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alina, do you want me to promote your masks?
Oh, well, if you want to, that would be sweet. You can just mention my social media. I guess people can always find all that there.
Yes. Okay. Porco, do you have anything you would like me to mention, promote?
Don't follow me on Twitter. It's healthier, guys. Save
Too
yourself.
late. Too late.
Save yourself the trouble and just, yeah.